Hello and welcome to All the Way Down, a YouTube channel all about the Scottish rock band Biffy Clyro.
All the way down, all the way down.
So we're moving on to part 2 of the music videos of Biffy Clyro. We've done albums 1, 2 and 3. We're going to move on to albums 4 and 5, Puzzle and Only Revolutions. A big thing to bear in mind in this one is that after Infinity Land, the third album, they moved record labels. They moved from Beggar's Banquet to 14th Floor, which was a subdivision, still is, subdivision of Warner Records. Big record label. And of course, big record label equals bigger budgets. Although bigger budgets is a bit inappropriate for the first video that we see. The first video that we see for Puzzle is the video for Semimental. This is the first song that we saw from the Puzzle era, and the first thing we see on the video is Play Louder. Now at the time there was an Audio Slave video called, I think it's called Cochise or Cochise, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it says Play Loud at the beginning of it. And I've since gone onto that video, Audio Slave, and it's missing. I'm sure it was on there before. I don't know whether it's just been cut out after all these years. But at the start of that video it said Play Loud. Now obviously Biffy's a little bit of a take on that, Play Louder. It's essentially recorded footage from recording Puzzle in the studio in Los Angeles with producer Garth Richardson, and then them kind of maybe the tour before that, before they went off to record Puzzle, playing this song, sort of a rough version of it. And then around maybe New York, it looks like, sort of the band sort of stood in Times Square, I think. But most of it is them sort of in the studio, working out the songs, messing around. There's quite a funny bit where James falls off the trampoline, nearly breaks his neck. It looks quite dangerous. Cy wears a particularly funny top hat in the video, and in the studio he plays a Telecaster. So let's add that to the tally. The tally we're going to call it, of Cy playing Telecasters in music videos. I can see why the band did this at the time. Obviously it's not the strongest song on this album, but it's a good sort of feel of where they're at. And if they're in the studio recording everything, little bits and pieces of stuff they've been coming up with, it sort of makes sense that they would sort of put all of it together as a compilation and just throw this video out as a taster of this is what's to come kind of thing. It's a pretty good start for the Puzzle era. The second video I'm going to be talking about from the Puzzle era is Living is a Problem Because Everything Dies. As we know, this is the first song from the album. It's a really strong song, absolutely fantastic to hear it live. This video, first off, it's a very heavy edit of the song. The intro is almost entirely cut out. It almost starts right at the verse, which I have a particular problem with because I think it's a really good intro. It's a performance video, but it's sort of in a sort of a dark, hazy, damp, abandoned tunnel. I have a particular problem with videos like this because obviously nothing's plugged in. It'd be a health and safety nightmare, let's face it. It's a bit like November Rain by Guns N' Roses, where Slash is playing on the top of a cliff face. Guitar's not even plugged in. That's not what it would sound like. Cy plays the Telecaster. But on a positive side, there's a really great use of light in this video. The band, when they're playing their instruments, are backlit, and that looks really good. And there's a sort of a down shot of Cy in a spotlight, and that's a really effective way of showing him looking up, because we all know the song is referencing God all the time. It's as if he's looking up to God and God is looking down on him, and he's in a really cool spotlight. There's a mix of real-time sort of speed and slowed down, which is really effective. But the thing that really puts me off this video is towards the end, Cy's not playing his guitar anymore. He's got the microphone in his hand with the cable going everywhere. He's on his knees. I just think it doesn't suit the video at all. It doesn't suit the band, I don't think. It's sort of like a pop video. It's Take That, singing in the rain, and you know, he's got his shirt off. I don't think it suits it at all. The video I don't think has aged very well. You know, with the microphone falling down and it creates a puddle, and it just looks really naff, I think. This video has always really sat very oddly with me. The main thing I dislike about it is the sort of odd effect that it has running through the entire video of a kind of a shaky, disorientated sort of effect on it, which just really puts me off it. The premise of the video is a retirement home radio station called Shady Meadows Pirate Radio Club, and they're broadcasting the band who are playing their instruments close to where the retirement is, and then on the beach. But by the looks of it, it's instruments that it looks like they've found it from a second-hand shop. A bit like the instruments that they play in My Recovery Injection. I don't really know what the guitar Simon's playing. I think it's the one from My Recovery Injection. Certainly not a Telecaster. Ben's drums just looked really old and tired and just rubbish. As if it's all cobbled together. And maybe that was the idea, but it doesn't really come across particularly well. Towards the end, they're messing on the beach in the sunset, and yeah, it does look pretty cool, the sort of sunset effect, and them all sort of messing around doing surfing and cartwheels and stuff like that. The video is very flippant, a bit throwaway, and it's a nice idea having this, retirement home doing a pirate radio station. And if you actually look at the set list that the old lady pins down onto the floor before they play the set for the radio station, it actually shows they do Saturday Superhouse, Who's Got a Match, The Conversation Is, Semimental, and there's a couple more, but you don't really see it on the video. It sort of moves away really quickly. I think the video could be 10 times better if it didn't have that shaky effect on it. I really don't know why it's there. The video for Who's Got a Match is live footage from around 2008-2009. This song has so much character to it that it's a shame they've sort of cobbled together compilation footage of them performing this live, because they could have chose to do something a bit more creative, a bit more of a story. But on the other hand, this song is so good live. It's always in the set list, it's a real fan favourite, and the audience reaction when it's rolled out at gigs is fantastic. So maybe they did have an idea for this song. It was always going to be a single, let's face it. But maybe when they got around to performing it live, they saw the audience reaction, everyone bouncing, singing along. They thought, we've got to have footage of this and put it together for the video. Plus, you have to bear in mind that they were really on a roll here, live-wise. They've been touring for so long. They're starting to play bigger venues at this point because they're on a bigger record label, far much more promotion. So the live set and the live experience was just something to behold. The video is also padded out a little bit by Sai sort of singing to the camera with his top off. It looks like it's shot in the dark but with a spotlight, maybe from the camera. And it's quite a lot of filler there. They've obviously not got enough live performance but just needed a little bit to pad it out. But the shots of them playing on stage, preparing live backstage, it's always great footage to see. The next video is Folding Stars. When this video first came out, I thought it was a little bit forgettable. But in researching this video and going back to these videos, I really enjoyed this one. I think it's probably the strongest one from the puzzle era. It looks like it's filmed in black and white. It's got that kind of negative print effect. They really get the money's worth out of Sai's contact lenses that he's wearing. It's a performance video in a couple of different locations. A small church outside a larger church, and then in a cave. The cave shots have a really nice effect of like a ghost, sort of a figure moving around. And if you look on YouTube, there's a making of video of the Folding Stars video. It was filmed during the day, which I thought was quite shocking considering how nighttime it looks. But the director, Howard Greenhalgh, talks about the video being filmed in infrared. Now that's what gives it the effect of it being in darkness, because everything's sort of inverted. And it was filmed in Cobham in Surrey. Fun fact. Sai's not playing a Telecaster here, but he's playing a Gretsch, a lovely Gretsch guitar. The only reason probably for this is that, it's not an absolute rocker of a song, but at the same time they have to keep to the style of the black and white. So obviously their instruments that they're playing are all white. Everything's either black or white, so it needs to be inverted. The video doesn't have to be too complex. Obviously the song says everything it needs to. It's a very direct song, very solemn song, very emotional song. So a performance video in these really grand surroundings is all that it needs. One thing I thought was really impressive is Sai's miming. A big thing for me in music videos is that sometimes you can really tell that singers are miming. It really puts you off. But this, Sai absolutely nails it. The final video from the puzzle era is Machines. I said before on another video that this was a bit of an afterthought for the album. It was almost not recorded. The album version of the song is really simple. quite sparse. But the single version and the song that you hear on this video is really overblown. They've added so much to it. Far more drums, far more backing vocals, far more strings. And I much prefer the album version. It's 3 band members, half naked, sort of suspended on wires, which looks like it's from a bit of a sci-fi film, in a kind of a big unit where everything's sort of metallic. Are they sort of unconscious? Are they hurt in any way? Are they repairing from what's happened? We just don't know. This video really doesn't work for me. The fact that they're sort of suspended with little sort of towels covering their meat and twos, for me it really doesn't suit the song. And if we're talking about videos such as Who's Got a Match, which is compilation footage of live performance, Machines is a real highlight in a Biffy set list. If we're looking at the Live at Wembley show, which was the big production that they did, that was a real highlight. You know, Psy with the light bulbs coming down and everyone singing along. If you'd have got rid of all this sci-fi sort of suspended rubbish and replaced it with, you know, live footage of this song being performed and lamented and really cherished in a live venue with all these people singing along, with all the effects that they had at the Wembley show, that would have been far more suitable than this. I don't think this one worked at all. So now we move on to the music videos from Only Revolutions. This is probably the most exposure they've had to date. 7 videos from this album, lots of singles to it. 1 more video than Puzzle. The first one we're going to talk about is Mountains. First of all, Psy plays a Telecaster. There's an absolutely fantastic premise to this video, I think. It's 2 versions of Psy, one in black, one in white. Bit of a reference to Folding Stars, maybe. And they're playing basically a physical version of chess. So you have the Psy dressed in black, the Psy dressed in white, and each of them has essentially a ninja on the chessboard in front of them. And whenever they make a move, the person that they're sort of representing moves for them, and they sort of try and strike each other. And it's really combative. The sort of moves that they make on the chessboard is slowed down at times. It looks so good. Also, there's the addition of the performance, which is on the same checkered floor. The band obviously playing dark instruments to suit the black and white effect. A really energetic performance. The costumes that both sides are wearing are really overblown and really theatrical, and quite subtle acting from Psy, from the black and the white version. The fight scenes do have the potential to look a bit naff, but they get around it, I think. First of all, by slowing them down when they do move and spin and strike each other. But we don't particularly see much of it. So what you do see is quite subtle, and they've chosen the shots really cleverly by only showing the absolute best of the 2 fighters moving around and fighting each other. Second video is That Golden Rule. Now this is a pure performance video. It's set in what looks like a huge mansion inside and outside. The first 20 seconds or so is pure Ben. It's the Ben show. He's backlit, which looks really good, and the video really suits the frenetic side of the song. It's got the lowered microphone, and the band are really close together. They've got a bit of face paint on. There's a bit of haze. It's just, they've just thrown everything at it, which the song does at the same time. In the second half of the song, they're playing outside of the mansion, and there's some really cool effects. Obviously, they've got the sort of the sound waves on the pillars of the mansion going up and down. The searchlights, which look really cool. Not quite sure if the sound waves, the sort of bars that go up and down the pillars, were projection at the time or an effect that they added on afterwards. Maybe someone could tell me that. The riff at the end is just absolutely monstrous, so it did need something a bit of extra special to go with the song, and it works really well, I think. Watching the video really made me want to go and see the band live again, and I did a couple months later during the Only Revolutions tour. One thing I will say about this video is that it does focus on Psy a bit too much. I understand he's the lead singer, I understand, you know, they're getting this exposure. 7 videos to go with this album, so we're seeing quite a lot of them. But I just thought, sometimes when he's singing, you could cut away from him a little bit and focus on the band, because Ben and James are sort of playing the heart out behind them, and the camera's just focus on Psy for a bit too long. Another video that focuses on Psy a bit too much is The Captain. Now, from the looks of it, this appears to be the biggest budget they've ever spent on a video. It looks like a proper film set. The story behind the video really suits the song. It's essentially a mutiny on the ship. Psy, being the prisoner, is being whipped, and then he's put in a little cage. And then towards the end, a bit like the Glitter and Trauma video, where when they're in the mental hospital, and all the people in there sort of go against the leaders and then end up siding with the band. This is pretty much the same. Psy, yes, he's topless, he's wearing eyeliner, he's the lead singer of the band, he's the sexy one, we get it. It's a little bit too much, I think. For me, they've absolutely nailed the premise of the video. It suits the song so well. It's a performance video as well, but of course it's set in this sort of age, so you can't start throwing Fender Stratocasters into the mix. Obviously, Psy's got quite an old battered guitar, and I love Ben's little drum. I think it's really funny. So at the time of recording this video, the music video for Many of Horror has 15.5 million views. I think by far the most popular music video from Biffy Clyro. It was filmed, and it looks like a similar video setting to a song called Blood Bunny Larkhole by Rubin. And if you've not heard of Rubin, go check them out. They supported Biffy in the early days. Really good band. That video was filmed in a Defence Radar Museum, and it looks very similar because of sort of panels alongside and everything that's around them, all the knobs and bells and whistles. Again, there's a lot of focus on Psy, and I think for this, in a good reason, because it's quite a personal song to him, so I can see why they've focused on him. There's a great use of light, lots of shadows and silhouettes, and as the video goes on, we see sort of an electrical effect on Psy's face when he's obviously sang the song a few times, and they've mixed them all together, so with the face sort of moves. It's quite eerie, but it really effective. A bit like the Machines song, the song for Many of Horror on the video and the single release is a lot different to the album version. There's a lot more strings. But going back to this video, I was really impressed with it. And they really do a good job of Psy changing his facial expression as he's singing different parts of the song. So I think it works really well as a music video. There really isn't much to say about the music video for Booom, Blast and Ruin. I love the song. It's a real highlight from this album, Only Revolutions. The video is essentially a compilation of live footage from summer festivals. Looks like they're playing everywhere at this point. Lots of clips of Psy jumping off his amps that looks really cool. Loads of little clips of the second live guitarist, Mike Venart. We don't really see much of him in music videos, so it's great to see him here. The concept matches the song because it's quite fast-paced, and the shots sort of move from one to the other really quickly. And I really love this one. Do check it out. The music video for Bubbles is essentially a performance one. It's set in what looks like a large airplane hangar with amps and equipment sort of in a half moon shape around them. There's obviously not much going on in this video. It's just the three of them rolling out this song. The only thing that they've added to it is the projector effect. If you've watched the first video, the Just Boy video has that. Maybe it's a little nod to that, we don't know, but I just think it's a performance video, there's not much going on. Maybe they've thought, let's just throw a projector reel effect move in to make it a little bit more interesting for the viewer. There's a couple of videos in this section of the band's output which I don't particularly understand. One of them being Machines, the other one being God and Satan. The first shot is of Psy sort of neck deep in the water, and as he begins to sing, Ben and James come up either side of him in the water, and it's probably meant to look quite effective, but I just thought it was hilarious. My best guess is that this is a kind of Day of the Dead sort of video. Essentially the three of them walking through a forest on the way to their own funerals, which is normal. Along the way they sort of gather a crowd as they're walking towards their own funerals. A mix between farmers, Amish people, travellers, not quite sure. But they and the band have this sort of white paint on the faces. That's what reminded me of Day of the Dead. The sort of that design on the face looks a little bit like that. And then towards the end, they get in their makeshift graves holding candles, and it's all a little bit confusing, all a tiny bit pretentious, and the video ended, and I thought, not really a big fan of the song. The video hasn't done much to win me round. So those were the music videos for the albums Puzzle and Only Revolutions. As I said before, they just signed to their new record label, 14th Floor. Bigger budgets, far more promotion, you're seeing them a lot more, and why not invest in some good music videos? Some of them weren't good, but I'm going to choose my top 3 right now. Number 3, I'm going to go with Many of Horror. Of course, it's a really popular song. It's probably the song that is sort of the man on the street, let's say, will maybe recognise Many of Horror. And of course, the video has attracted a lot of people. 15.5 million views so far. The song is okay. I quite like the song. It's not the best from that album. It's not the best song they've ever done. But it really gave them a bigger audience. And the video works really well. It's in a really cinematic location. It's not just a performance video. It's got some really nice effects of the electrical forks of lightning, I think, on the face. And it suits the song. Number 2, I'm going to go with Folding Stars. When I first saw it, first couple of times, wasn't particularly a fan. But the song is really endearing, it's really raw, it's really honest. And the video doesn't have to be, a work of art. It can be 3 band members playing the song. But then they've gone the extra mile by doing that sort of infrared effect and the ghost effect in the cave. And for my money, it's the strongest video from the Puzzle era. But number 1, I'm going to go, of course, with Mountains. A fantastic idea of having that sort of human chessboard, fighting to the death. The 2 sides in the absolutely flamboyant costumes. Great acting from Psy, really subtle but really works. And then the really raw, energetic performance. Psy playing the Telecaster. I could watch that video any day of the week, still enjoy it. You got to watch it, it's great. So that was part 2 of the music videos of Biffy Clyro, focused on Puzzle and Only Revolutions. Next, Opposites and Ellipsis. See you then.
All the way